Resuming Nerd World Order broadcast. Dynaphones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I am the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, here comes the...
Booyah! What's up? It's your boy, Joe. What's good, everyone?
And to my other right, coming straight out of Krakoa, weighing in at 178 adamantium-filled pounds, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Oh, my stars and garters.
This is the Nerd World Order broadcast, the official broadcast of the Nerd World Order community.
All right, so before we get to started, I want to give a couple of shout-outs here because, you know, I've been trying to hype this Nerd World Order broadcast up as much as possible, and I got a few people who have gotten back to me with feedback. My buddy Devlin, he listens on his way to work with his daughter Ashlyn. It's really awesome. You know, I gave him a shout-out last episode, and she was really stoked about it, so I want to make sure I say her name on this. Ashlyn, thank you for listening. And then my buddy Tim out in Arizona. You know, Tim, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your listening and your feedback. We all appreciate it. And anybody else out there in this beautiful land, if you are listening, give me a holler. I'll let you know. You know, let me know about it, and I'll give you a shout out because, you know, you guys are the ones that we're doing this for, and you know that's why we make it happen. Appreciate it. Out there while you're listening to it, make sure you let your friends know. Get them turned on to this, and tell a friend, tell them to tell a friend, and everybody tells a friend, and everybody is listening, and then it's great.
Gentlemen, let's jump right into our nerdy week. I'll let you guys tell me about what you did nerdy this weekend, but I'm going to start off because I had a great time. I went to a venue. It was a virtual interactive experience called Dinos Alive. For those of you that don't know, my son is a freaking genius when it comes to dinosaurs, you know, and you would think like, oh, what is your son like, 5, 6? No, my son's 14, and his possible chosen profession, if he doesn't go into the NBA, which means that he will be the complete opposite of physical ability that I have. If he goes into the NBA, he won't be doing anything related to dinosaurs. But if he decides not to go into the NBA, he'll actually be an artist that does basically artistic interpretations when people find fossils. He interprets it, looks at the size of the fossils, everything like that. So anyway, TMI. So this weekend, the Duchess, my son, who some people call Bean, but I don't call him Bean because I think that's like a horrible nickname for somebody who's taller than me. Anyway, so we went to this event called Dinos Alive, which is an interactive dinosaur experience. It was pretty cool. My son can just name all the dinosaurs on site. For those of you who are running Dinos Alive, here's how good my son is. If you look at the pterodactyls, which aren't called pterodactyls anymore, they're called something else that my son knows and I don't know the name of. Anyway, you have a dinosaur on your display that you have listed as Quetzalcoatlus. It's actually not a Quetzalcoatlus. You have the wrong dinosaur on that display. My son walks up and immediately identifies that. And that's why I'm just so hella impressed by that kid. So we walked around, looked at the dinosaur displays, and we did some VR, which is great. I actually basically ran into the wall in the VR because there's no sensory like depth perception. So, I'm trying to play with the dinosaurs. I'm playing fetch with the dinosaurs, and I think the dinosaur is over there. So I start walking towards it. Bam. There was a wall there. That's what I did. That was nerdy. It was a great time. I wore my Nerd World Order Jurassic Park inspired shirt. So that was my nerdiest thing I did this weekend.
Telling me that your boy is into dinosaurs. I gotta I got to strengthen the fact that you need to watch Mitchell's versus the Machines. The son is an avid dinosaur lover, and the little girl that's the love interest for him, dinosaur lover, so great. It's just such a great animated movie. I mean, I put it right up there with Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, sorry, just a little bit below Into the Spider-Verse, but above all the other stuff that's out there. So Mitchell's versus the Machines, watch it. My son puts it on like once a week. Matter of fact, we just watched it. That's probably why it's so fresh in my head. That's one thing we've been up to a lot lately. I've had some back issues, so we're sitting around watching cartoons a lot. Last week, I think I was talking about one of the Spider-Man shows that we watched together. It's called Spidey and His Amazing Friends. And Miles Morales goes by Spin in that. So there's Spider-Man, there's Ghost Spider, and then there's Spin. And they all actually have different colored webs. It's kind of neat. We've watched Into the Spider-Verse again. We watch a lot of the other Spider-Man cartoon. Not the one from the 90s. There's like a newer one out on Disney Plus that's really good.
Ultimate Spider-Man.
No, it's actually after Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it's just called Spider-Man, or maybe Amazing Spider-Man. But okay. it was after Ultimate was really good too. We liked that one a lot. But that's pretty much the toys. Of course, we're playing with his toys all the time. The kid's hilarious. Like just right now, we got back from karate, and I thought he was tired. He's so full of energy. He grabbed his Captain America shield and he grabbed his dark lightsaber and he jumped up on the couch. And he's like, yeah! And he jumps off and he's attacking his imaginary foes. This kid is fighting everybody and everything at all times. He'll run, he'll drop everything, go grab Mjolnir, pulls out his hammer. Oh man, it's a blast. It's a blast to play with him, but mostly just to sit back and watch him and wonder what the heck is going on in his head. I love it. I love it. My poor daughter right now, she's studying for finals, so we try to keep it down a little bit, with the exception of Nathaniel jumping all over the place. And she's just sitting there, a stress ball on the kitchen table, just studying notes. It's like they get a page of notes and she just fire them all in as much as she possibly can on one page. But yeah, that's pretty much my week so far. What about you guys? What about you, Joe?
I'm just watching Justice League Unlimited on HBO Max, and just thinking, man, why can't they make movies this good? Every episode is good. It's kind of like depressing because you're watching the show and you're like, man, this is really good. And every episode you watch it to get more into it, and you just get more disappointed of what DC is doing with their live action movies with these characters that the cartoon does so well with. Just that, and watching Peacemaker, that show is really good. James Gunn did a good job with that. And watching Boba Fett, I know we talked about Boba Fett, but I'm gonna give it a chance. It's got like a few more episodes, and maybe your son needs to watch Friends, because Ross is a pain in Taliates or something. I think that's what it's called, where they deal with dinosaurs.
I'm actually surprised my son doesn't watch Friends, because he watches like all the cheesy comedies I refuse to watch. Like he's into The Office and Parks and Recs and everything like that. So
I bet you if you tell him Ross is a paleontologist, I know I but
paleontologist.
Yeah, paleontologist. He might watch it.
He might.
Yeah.
His best friend loves Friends. Like when we get her like Christmas gifts, we're like, how some people are just easy to shop for because you're like lazy and you're like, it's got Friends on it, and you just throw it in the cart. So I'm sure if she suggests it, then he'll actually watch it. And if Uncle Joe watches it, he'll actually watch it. But if I suggest it, then he'll be like, nah.
Isn't that what kids do though? You tell them the same thing. Like when my son used to play basketball, I would tell him some things and he wouldn't do it. And then the coach would be telling him the same thing. And then he looks at me and I'm like, yeah, you just don't listen to me because I'm your dad. But I think we all were like that when we were kids.
Oh yeah, dude. We were all stubborn, hard-headed. Hey, X, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Regarding you watching Spider-Man with your son, did you start at like ground zero with the 1960 Spider-Man and you've been progressing through all the Spider-Man series?
I couldn't do that to him because with his attention span, I mean, bear in mind, he's 6. He's not going to want to watch that. With everything he's been exposed to lately. I mean, I guess he watches that Ryan show, so that's like watching paint dry. But yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll have to expose him to that a little bit because it's got the classic theme song. Oh wait, no, are you talking about the cartoon or the Spider-Man TV show?
No, the cartoon.
The cartoon. No, we've watched some of those, definitely. We watched those. We watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. But the live action Spider-Man, no, not yet. Japanese Spider-Man, not yet. That's that's going to be deep cuts for him later.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. I want to watch the original live action Spider-Man just because I remember watching it as a kid and just expecting more to happen, but they had no budget, right? So they had that, like they paid one guy to climb up a wall while wearing a suit. Yeah, so I want to watch that again. That's not on Disney Plus, is it?
I don't believe so. But do you remember when they did some movies and they did Matt Murdock and they did Thor and they did I don't know if they did Hulk, but it was Thor and Hulk, and then Daredevil was his lawyer.
Yeah, weren't those Hulk movies?
Were they Hulk movies or Spider-Man movies?
They were definitely Hulk movies, my bro.
Oh, that's right. They were Hulk movies. Did Spider-Man have movies?
No, Spider-Man barely had a show.
That's right. I remember
wasn't it a movie though? The live action back in the day, wasn't it a movie?
Here was the thing, because I watch documentaries on all sorts of crap, and then Joe says everything I watch sucks. It started out, it was like a movie, right? The first episode was a movie, and the movie did well, so they broke it up, like they re-released it, broke it up into 2 parts, and then after that they turned it into a show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Remember his webs were like ropes? Like, yes. I remember when he was like shooting at that tree when he was just dressed up as Peter Parker and he's like, I'm trying out my new webs, and he shoots a rope at a tree and then he just swings on it. I'm like, I could do that. I still do that.
But it was cool though, because at that time we didn't have anything. Well, that was around the same time. Remember when Kiss used to come out with movies?
I never saw a Kiss movie. Okay, this will be like a confession. When I was a kid, Kiss kind of scared me, okay? So I wasn't trying to watch no Kiss movie. Wasn't it like Kiss versus the Phantom or something like that?
It was something like that. I vaguely remember, but I see your point. Like, they were kind of scary, but they were kind of cool because they were heroes, too.
We're dating ourselves, guys. It was like, back in our day, we watched the Spider-Man TV show, and it was horrible. But we were grateful.
I watched it on VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, VHS even makes it sound old, doesn't it? Yeah. I watched it on Blu-ray.
Well, you didn't watch it on Betamax?
I streamed it last week.
Laserdisc.
Wherever Laserdisc was the next big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Did you guys rent Laserdisc at Don's Video, Joe?
No, I did. I read in VHS. Okay. I don't even remember them having Laserdisc, to be honest.
I don't think they did, but because basically Joe and I both worked at a video store, right? When we were going through college. And Joe worked there first, and then my recollection is, and tell me if I'm wrong, Joe, you were leaving, and so you were like, hey, you know who could do this job? That's what he told the owner. This guy. And then he got me a job there. I was like his not so adequate replacement.
I wonder why did I leave? I don't even remember where I went from there.
I think it was Miller's Outpost, maybe, because you were working jobs.
That's right. It was Miller's Outpost.
So for the discount on the clothes.
Like, the owner was German, so like for some odd reason she kept playing like Die Hard every Christmas, the whole month of Christmas. Yeah. And I'm like, wasn't this dude German and he died? And she's the German owner. She's like, Die Hard, we got to put it on.
There wasn't a lot of German representation back then. So, it was like blaxploitation movies. Yeah, back in the 70s, we knew they were doing us dirty, but at least we were on the big screen. So that's how she felt with her German person in a movie. Any representation.
What was crazy was like every time the brothers kept, they came in, hey man, so what's up, dude? You got Dolomite? I'm like, yeah, it's in the black section. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's in the black section. Well, what do you mean? Look to your right. You see it right there? That's the black section. And they walk over there and they grab the, like we used to have those little tags for the video.
Yeah.
He looks back at me. He's all, this is a nice ass black collection. I'm like, yeah, I call it the black section.
Because only Joe could get away with telling black dudes to go to the black section.
You know why, dude? Because they think I'm mixed. You know what I mean? They're like, everyone calls me the light-skinned brother. So they're like, the dark brothers are like, all right, light-skinned brother, thank you. It's in the black section. And I'm like, you're damn right. Light-skinned brother's making a comeback. Let's get it.
So I think this is a good time for us to talk about Sony, the Amazing Spider-Man universe, Andrew Garfield. Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about, I'm going to call it the Sony Spider-Verse.
So,
Yeah.
it's a good way to do it.
I'm okay
Sony
with it.
Spider-Verse.
Would you rather have another Toby movie, or would you rather have another Andrew Garfield movie?
Realistically, I feel like Toby ended his trilogy on a low note, right? With the Spider-Man 3 just being just a train wreck. Yeah. So I feel like Toby deserves the redemption.
But who deserves it more? At least he got a third movie. Andrew Garfield never got his third one.
Andrew Garfield really deserved a redemption, and he did get it in Spider-Man Homeboys. What was it called again?
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
No Way Home. One of the homes. But I think, he did get his redemption, and I think that's what's good to set him up for something new. I don't see why they couldn't have his movies and Tom Holland's running simultaneously. I mean, more money. Nothing wrong with that. I'll put it out every day, all day. I want to watch. I'll watch it both. If they did all three in separate universes, I'd still watch it, because there's nothing wrong with like a grown up, Spider-Man, with man problems, making rent and making sure that Mary Jane's happy and that they're not having some issues and he's sleeping on the couch. And then, you could have Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, doing his thing where, he's still trying to find that love that he's looking for, because he lost his, and the Mary Jane's out there somewhere and he's going to find her. And then you got Tom Holland, who's just, he's growing up. He's still, he just got out of high school, right? So, he's got his own apartment. He's got no friends and family. I think all three have something different to offer, and there's no reason why they couldn't all go on at once. Is it going to be too much Spider-Man? Perhaps, but if they're doing quality content, who's going to care?
I think it's just going to be saturation, which is why I would prefer that they take one Spider-Man and stick with him. Which, if I have to pick out of the three, because I like expanded universes and complex universes, if I have to pick out of the three, as far as continuing storylines, I feel that we should just stick with Tom Holland. Yeah, you had your moment in the sun. Wow, I came back for a Marvel movie and I did great. Okay, and because of that, everybody wants to see me in my own movie. That's going to be saturation. And I don't want to get oversaturated with my superhero shows and movies.
I mean, yeah, would it be too much saturation though if it was like one a year, but it was the other one doing it? I would put Tobey Maguire out of the equation, but I mean Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. I think they could do it. Like, this is Tom Holland's year, this is Andrew Garfield's year, back and forth, and they can do that for a long time until they're grown men. I mean, they are in real life, but they'll get there.
Well, here's why I'm okay with it. It's not so much saturation if you do it right, because they did No Way Home pretty good with the three in there, the balance of it. The reason why I think you could have two is you got the Morbius is coming out, right? And then you got another Venom coming out. And I think you could use Andrew Garfield in that universe for that Spider-Man. That way you can focus Tom Holland on the Marvel main universe, and you don't have to bring the crossover between the Spider-Man and the Sonyverse Spider-Man, and you can keep Andrew Garfield there, and you can give him a third movie and just use that Spider-Man if he was to make other appearances like in Morbius and in Venom and the future Venom, and then you just keep Tom Holland with the main universe. What do you think about that?
Yeah, is that kind of what they're leaning towards? Like Venom and Morbius are on the same universe, and then they're thinking of putting Andrew Garfield in that universe. I would totally be fine with that because those are separate. They're just they are, you know. Andrew Garfield. I mean, they could even make it to where he's not even a main character. He's just somebody that shows up and whoops them down in their own movies.
Because they're coming out with Craven as well.
Oh,
So
that's
you know
right.
they're trying to set up their Sinister Six, but does it have to be Tom? So if he in fact is doing another 3 movies, you don't have to waste any of those movies to reintroduce a Venom, a Craven, or Morbius, right? And you can just keep Andrew Garfield in that back burner to keep Tom Holland where he's at, and you can have Andrew Garfield filling in all those other gaps of the Spider-Man there. And then if you were to bring in Miles Morales, who would be a perfect more fit as a mentor for him? Because if you played the video game on the Sony PlayStation, it's an older Peter Parker. It isn't Tom Holland around his age. So you really don't want to use Tobey Maguire, even though he is older. But Andrew Garfield's kind of like in between of the age between the Tobey and Tom. And I think that would be more of a mentor for Miles, even though they kind of introduced it in the Marvel universe with Tom Holland. I think it'll be easier for Andrew Garfield to mentor like a Miles Morales, and you don't have to make another Spider-Man movie.
That's genius. That's genius. You bring in Andrew Garfield, and then you introduce Miles Morales, and then Andrew Garfield dies because he's had his chance. This way, Sony has their own Spider-Man movies, but it's all Miles Morales, right? And then you have Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe. If they cross over, they cross over, you know, because they're 2 different people. I think that's actually a really good way to go.
I've got a degree of skepticism. It's a great idea, Joe, to have Miles Morales have an alternate universe. You bring in Garfield. Let's say you give him his 3rd movie, but it transitions into a Miles Morales character, which in a lot of ways would be very similar to Miles Morales' introduction into the Ultimate Universe, which is where he came from in the comic books, which is he did meet Peter Parker. Peter Parker died. He took over sort of the mantle of Peter Parker. He interacted with Aunt May, you know, and everyone like that. So that could actually work very well. I like that idea. What I don't like is the idea of having 2 Spider-Mans that we have to watch on the big screen. I just think it would be too much. Joe, you have an excellent point. Miles Morales, I'm just going to say this, and ladies, gentlemen, and knights, you can hate me later. Miles Morales is Spider-Man in name only. And what I mean by that is, yes, he shoots webs, spins webs, whatever. But like when you look at his power set, yes, he shoots webs, but he also turns invisible. He also has his electric, you know, his basically his electric shot. So I could get behind that because it wouldn't be the same old thing. Very different character, similar name, but different skill set. So I actually like that idea.
Yeah, and if they ever like, you know, mess with the multiverse again, why can't they have a crossover? I mean, because that's how they did in the comics. Miles Morales came in the Ultimate Universe, and then he would cross over with Spider-Man in reality. I mean, or 616, you know, and then they would go back. You know, I think they could play that same game with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Sonyverse. I mean, you know, you've got them all coming. You've got Venom and Morbius, and you got Craven, and the other one that I'm curious about is you've got the Vulture walking the fine line because he showed up in the Morbius commercial, or not commercial, the preview, but he is in, you know, the MCU. So where's that go?
I think that's just a multiverse thing.
Morbius is actually a problem for me because they pushed it back. Now, one might say the reason that they pushed it back is so that they could insert more elements of, let's say, an Andrew Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're coming off of the success of a No Way Home and you push a movie back, that tells me that Sony isn't thinking like long-term strategically in order to get people excited about the Sonyverse. You know, this is a perfect opportunity. The fact that they pushed it back tells me that Sony just continues to make bad decisions about its Spider-Man universe.
Well, you know, let's put it this way. They're like, well, they got another episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast coming out, and they're going to tell us how to fix it, which we just did. So where's my movie check, Sony?
I believe Joe would actually be entitled to that check. Maybe he can break us off a piece.
Of that Kit Kat bar.
Executive producers, you know?
Yeah.
Well, dude, like, or what if Sony just saw how successful No Way From Home is, and you're just looking at it going, let's bank on that. You know, maybe they looked at the way it was going, how it ended, because there's already, you know, it's already done, and they just saw how successful and everybody like is really hyped up about Andrew Garfield, and you know, Sony's probably listening to that and be like, you know what, dude, let's do something with this kid. And maybe they're just reshooting scenes with Andrew Garfield because, to your point, Alan, they need to be better. And they think if they use that to redo some scenes, it can be better than what they're putting out.
Yeah, nobody expected Andrew Garfield to blow up like this. Mm-hmm. You know, he did, and he did it in a big way. You know, it's like he was almost, you know, like the star of the show. You know, it wasn't his movie at all, but his light shined a little brighter than most. Yeah. And man, is it going to blow up. I think they can do something right. Like I said, just tune in.
I've always been a fan of Andrew Garfield. I thought he's my favorite Spider-Man. I mean, Tobey Maguire is always the OG, but I always like Andrew Garfield, even though like he got a lot of hate. It's just kind of cool. Like someone doesn't do so well in that time, comes out in this movie, and the writers did him so much justice that everyone's like, yo, we need another movie. Where at that time, no one was like, yo, he doesn't deserve another movie.
I feel like the movie watching population is fickle. They have a very short memory.
Yeah.
And the excitement that people feel for Andrew Garfield is not going to continue over long enough to turn into cinematic gold.
That's probably why they're trying to rush and get him into Morbius.
Perhaps that would be a good point.
But to your point, Alan, I could see fans are like here for the moment. As soon as the moment goes, they jump on another moment. Mm-hmm. You remember when everybody was like, "You can't replace, you know, Bowsman for Black Panther." Now today, everyone's like, "No, we're cool with it. You need to replace him and bring in a new Black Panther." So to your point, man, I could see people just jumping. I don't know if it'd be a bandwagon, but I guess they just jump from moment to moment, right?
Yeah. As far as Chadwick Boseman goes, since you brought him up, Joe, no one can replace Chadwick Boseman as King T'Challa. And I feel like people who say that don't understand comic books. And what I mean by that is like there have been hundreds of Black Panthers who wasn't King T'Challa. You don't have to recast King T'Challa. All you got to do is say, like, whatever happened to King T'Challa, he's not in the picture right now. And therefore, his cousin, whomever, is going to take the mantle of Black Panther. You know, they don't need to recast him, though.
And who's to say Black Panther's girl didn't get pregnant? All of a sudden, well, got a baby coming. You know, we got a teenage Black Panther. You know?
The timeline of where Marvel's at.
There's a 5-year blip. 5-year blip. That kid's could be 6 by now.
6? I'm sure they got something going on.
He's 15.
If T'Challa isn't married to Storm, okay, then I don't want to see it on the big screen.
Preach.
Period. Like they could say, oh, T'Challa went off to another part of Africa because he met this woman with white hair who controls weather, and just leave it. Okay. Right. And all the fans are going to be like, oh, yeah. Right.
I love child on Krakoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd want that.
Okay. There we go. MCU movie check.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting what they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in the Doctor Strange movie, supposedly there's supposed to be like Illuminati's going to be in there. it's just a rumor, but if
Yeah.
and then they have Black Panther supposedly supposed to be as one of the members. You have to think like, are they going to create a new Black Panther, or who's going to be the Black Panther? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that the fact that Mr. Fantastic is one of the Illuminati, I mean, you basically have everyone already represented, with the exception of T'Challa, because Professor X has already been represented before in two different versions, with McAvoy and also with Patrick Stewart, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you have Black Bolt, who was portrayed in the Inhumans. X, don't laugh. I liked that show, okay? When Joe says I like some whack-ass shows, Inhumans is a perfect example. So you have Black Bolt, who is represented. You also have Mr. Fantastic, who's been represented twice. So if you say that the Illuminati, because in the 616 universe, the Illuminati are all from the same universe, if you go like crazy on them, right? And think about this. You have a multiversal Illuminati.
Oh,
that would be just insane. But it would make a lot of sense to bring them in as a multiversal Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness.
like a new TVA.
Well, they were saying like they're the Illuminati of the multiverse.
Yeah.
And the Watcher is going to be the big guy.
But they also has like, I think I saw a Namor in there, right? I think there was like some pictures that people were like, rumors were, I think it was like what, Namor, Black Bolt, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Professor X.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Oh, and Iron Man. But here's the thing too, like, do you guys remember when Tom Cruise was supposed to get casted as Iron Man, but he was filming those Mission Impossible, so it went to Robert Downey Jr.?
Yep, I heard about that. Yeah.
And now there's rumors of him being Iron Man. So Marvel, like it or not, in the movies that they make, you kind of still need an Iron Man and a Captain America, right? You still have a Captain America, but you still need an Iron Man. Even though if they bring in Riri, you still need someone to mentor Riri. But you need an Iron Man. What do you guys think about that? Do you think we need an Iron Man?
No.
I don't know. Iron Man, like, in the comics, isn't the biggest thing in the world. Like, he's not the most sought after. But when MCU brought in Iron Man, it was an explosion. And he paved the way for a lot. I think they should do him some justice and bring him back. I mean, you could put anybody in that armor. You could bring them from any reality. It could be that kid who was in Iron Man 3, all grown up, There's a lot they can do with that. I mean, it's going to be tough to replace Tony Stark. And it's going to be tough to replace Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. I did like the way I heard a couple times that there was speculation that Robert Downey Jr. would be the voice in the head, the man in the machine, the Jarvis, if you will. That would be kind of cool, because like he wouldn't have to come in. He wouldn't have to get in excellent shape. He could just sit there in his robe recording. That would be super sweet. There's so much they can do with that.
Because even if you brought in Tom Cruise as the Iron Man, you're not cheapening the death of Tony Stark, or Robert Downey Jr. So he can still remain dead, and it doesn't cheapen his death. You just have a new Iron Man.
But then they got to take all those Iron Man suits and shorten them. He's not tall. I'm sorry. He's not tall. Yeah. They need a short Wolverine. I'm saying it now. And no, not Danny DeVito.
I don't really want to see another Iron Man. I feel like it would be lazy writing. Mm-hmm. Having a multiverse to bring stuff in here and bring it in there, and like, we ran out of our contract with Robert Downey Jr., so we killed Iron Man. But you know what, everybody? Multiverse, and that solves everything. No, that's just lazy writing.
We got another one in back.
Yeah. And I personally, the minute that Iron Man decided to go to war with Cap, he was dead to me anyway. And he died. I was like, it's about time. Yeah. You don't disagree with Cap and then think that you're gonna live through, Endgame. And then Cap, you know what? Cap had the ultimate win. He said, I'm leaving and getting my girl. Okay. He won twice. He didn't die, and he got his girl. So I hope Iron Man stays dead.
What if Tom Cruise is actually dope in it as an Iron Man? Would that change your things, the way you think about stuff? Because we were all saying the same thing with the 3 Spider-Mans in one movie.
Yeah, I mean he can be, but the problem is it's like how. I mean, why we can't really get too emotionally invested in him because I mean, Tom Cruise costs a lot of money. They're not going to be able to do everything that they want because they're too busy paying Tom Cruise. And plus Tom Cruise, no matter how much he does and how young he looks, he's not young, and that man's getting older every day. It's like him and Johnny Depp. I love Johnny Depp. That man's getting older every day. They've got to eventually pass the torch, give these young roles over to young people. Hemsworth is young. All the Chris's, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt. I mean, like Hollywood's full of Chris's and British guys. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't really care much for Tom Cruise. I would challenge anyone to mention a good Tom Cruise movie.
Here's funny though. You say Tom Cruise is old, you need another younger guys. Well, then why are we talking about Keanu Reeves, who's only 2 years younger than Tom Cruise?
Because he's Keanu Reeves. Yeah, you're right. You got me there. But I mean, I don't want Keanu Reeves playing like I said, I don't want Keanu Reeves playing somebody like Iron Man, Captain America, or somebody like that in that generation. I want him playing somebody like Mephisto, who he should be Mephisto. And Mephisto can be old. He doesn't have to be young because he's all powerful. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to be physical. He's powerful with the supernatural. Somebody like that, he could be like not the Watcher, but like the In-Betweener, or Eternity. I don't know if you guys ever seen Eternity, but he could be Eternity. He could be a Celestial. He could be the shark in Jaws.
Let me answer that question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is experiencing a renaissance in his career.
Right.
He went from being sort of the joke where everyone just said, like, all he could say is like, whoa, to becoming John Wick, and everybody really started to like him again. And then he revamped some of his roles like Bill and Ted, and of course The Matrix. He is experiencing a renaissance. People want to see Keanu Reeves because they like his movies. Whereas Tom Cruise is really on sort of a decline where people don't really clamor to see Tom Cruise,
Yeah, I'm okay with Tom Cruise, but have him start playing an older guy. He's the guy who's mentoring somebody. He's the guy passing the torch. He's
like for Riri.
Right,
for Riri.
Exactly.
What if he's the guy that's mentoring Riri?
There you go. That's not bad. Yeah, just like I was saying, Andrew Garfield. Like you were saying, Andrew Garfield and Miles Morales. I mean, yeah, something like that. Somebody on their way out. We're going to see this new Top Gun movie, of course, after all the reshoots. It's going to have a resurgence of Tom Cruise again. People are in love with the first movie, and the second one's it's gonna bring all that emotion, or it's gonna do what The Matrix did.
Nobody cares about Maverick, the movie. No one's like, oh my gosh, I want to see Top Gun like 30 years after I watched the original. Nobody wants to see that, really, man.
Yeah, I know a slew of people that are, but I mean, in the long run, I mean, you're right. How many people in the world really want to see this Maverick movie?
That movie got pushed back. Nobody really knew that. No one really cared. You're saying they're doing reshoots. Like, you know why? Because that movie was gonna suck.
I bet you didn't even like the original one, bro. And that's why you don't care about it. There's a lot of people out there that like the original Top Gun. Everybody loved that movie. It was a hit. We were talking, everybody lives moment to moment.
Yep. Moment to moment, right.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. You can have your moment to moment. So I'll take a Fast and the Furious 10 over Maverick any day.
Did we watch that in the movie theater? You didn't care too much for it. I remember you and Rashawn, shout out to Rashawn, tore that movie up.
Yeah, it was the laziest of lazy writing.
That whole series is the laziest of lazy writing, man.
Yeah, I feel like there's lazy writing and then there's preposterous writing. And I understand that the Fast and the Furious movies are based on preposterous ideas. This movie did two things which just sort of put it over the top. They had one device, which was the magnet, that they used to propel the plot forward. That's all they had was magnets. Once they got those magnets, any attempt to make a decent movie stop. Remember? Because Alfonso's like, magnets, what? Oh. Okay, there were chase scenes, and they used the magnets in the chase scene. And then they were like, oh, someone has guns on us, right? Oh, we're gonna use magnets in order to get the guns away from everybody, right? And then they're like, oh, we're out in space. Spoiler alert, they went to space. They're like, how are we going to stop this satellite? Oh, we'll use the same plot device we've been using for the past 2.5 hours. Magnets. Okay. The world's problems cannot be solved with magnets, and lazy writing cannot be solved with magnets. Stop it with the magnets.
Until X-Men comes out and you got Magneto.
I could be okay with that.
Yeah, I think I've seen 2, maybe 3 of the Fast and Furious movies, and Hobbs and Shaw. That's about it.
Hobbs and Shaw was good though.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Was it lazy
You
writing?
like it, Dukes? I know you like that, Dukes.
Oh, I loved Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
You know what Hobbs and Shaw gave us, don't you? Okay, the greatest character in the history of cinema, Black
Love
Superman. That's right.
Superman.
That's what Hobbs and Shaw gave us.
Best line ever.
Yeah,
That was pretty
So
good.
I loved Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
But they didn't use magnets to solve all their problems.
No, they didn't. It was good though. I watched that the other day.
That's a movie you can just put on and enjoy it, because that movie is the exact opposite of the last Fast and Furious. They have chase scenes running down the side of buildings. Then they have like the regular chase scenes in streets, and then they have chase scenes on like the hills of Salmoa. They're just all over the place. That's just awesome. It's a completely different form of writing compared to what they did with the last Fast and Furious.
You know, it's weird. It didn't do as well as the other franchise.
I am still surprised by that, because internationally, I would think that The Rock and Jason Statham would do very well, along with having the Fast and Furious name attached to it.
Right.
It's a mystery to me why that movie didn't do well.
What's crazy is, when they were having that beef, Tyrese was like, yeah, see, you can't do as good as we can. And it's kind of, you're just like, but the movie was so much better.
So
Yeah, there's no correlation between like, hey, a movie like makes a lot of money and it's actually good. Like, I'll speak to Venom 2, which is a Sony product. Not a good movie. Let There Be Carnage, not a good movie. I was actually listening to Comics Explained, so shout out to those guys on YouTube. Not those guys, Rob, even though I'm sure that Rob has a whole group of people that works with him with editing and everything like that. Rob Core, awesome. Comics Explained. Anyway, he was explaining Red Goblin. We've talked about Red Goblin before. In fact, I think we talked about him a little bit in the last episode. Okay, so Red Goblin is basically Hobgoblin and Carnage symbiote mixed together.
Oh.
One of the things I think that Joe mentioned was that Ned might become Hobgoblin. Okay, so what if Ned becomes Hobgoblin only to set up him getting a Venom symbiote? Because Venom's spawn is Carnage. Venom at the end of No Way Home had a spawn, which doesn't make much sense because he already had a spawn, which is Carnage. But let's say in this universe, he spawned another Carnage. It would be really cool if in the MCU, Ned becomes Hobgoblin, and because a Carnage symbiote now exists in the MCU, they skip all the Carnage stuff because it's been done before and go straight to Red Goblin.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I do like the idea too that they've been kicking around that when the Vulture was in prison, he walked by Max Gargan, who had a scorpion tattoo on his neck. And, as we know in the Marvel universe, Max Gargan is the Scorpion. And for a long time, he was a Scorpion until one day he became Venom. So he wore that for years, and he did a really good job, And in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Scorpion does not have powers. He doesn't have a suit. He wasn't, some science experiment. He's just a rough guy that goes by Scorpion because, that's his gang name. And to give him a symbiote would be it would be carnage. Yeah, it would definitely would. But of course, a Venom over here would be great, and then that would just all lead back to what you said in the previous episodes about Null, and then we bring it all together for one big fight.
I feel like when Alfonso mentions Null, it's just because he knows I'm going to get all hyped up,
Yeah.
Hit it.
which I am now. Yes, Null. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I don't think that no would happen. I saw another guy talking about no and basically just regurgitate what Alan said on our last podcast about no. But I don't think Sony would have too much control if you make that guy the main villain, and no carried over to the Marvel Universe. And I don't think Kevin Feige would do that.
One of the things I recently saw on a TikTok was when Black Knight picked up his sword and Blade said, "I wouldn't do that if I was you."
Mhm.
That sword seemed to be moving around a little bit, which is actually more of a representation of the Necro sword, which is something that Null created. Meaning, I just think that it's rather possible that they're going to be moving towards elements of Null in the MCU.
The ebony blade was just that. It's an ebony blade. It's black. It's ebony, but it does have a curse on it to where it does want more blood if you get it on it. So it generally drives people insane. So I could see it being a combination of the two. Do I want that? Yeah, I want it all. Give it to me. I'll take it. Here's my money.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I think it would be dope. It sounds dope, the whole storyline. But like I said, I don't think, because then because that's it's a Sony character.
Right.
And that character would have to be in every Marvel movie that you're going to make.
Right. That's smart
if
too,
you're
because
going to do a big crossover like that.
Yeah.
And it's just more money for Sony.
Yeah, the way you're thinking is smart because we're thinking of as fans what we want, what we think, what we hope. But you're right. You got to think of it as an executive level. It's not what you think and want, what you hope. It's what's gonna, who's gonna be cashing the checks, who's gonna be writing the checks, and what it's all about money. So what you say makes a lot of sense, Joe. It really does. I'm just gonna sit here and want.
Because you got to figure, the more money they make with Sony, it's going to be harder for them to try to buy Sony.
Right. And that's more money out of their pocket too, because here's some for you, here's some for me. When they could be like, we want it all.
Let me throw this idea out at you guys. Marvel Comics used to write comics for us. Now they write comic books with the intention of having some of their bigger stories be turned into movies, right? Like a movie arc.
Right.
And it's probably last summer. The biggest arc that they had was King in Black with Null. Joe brings up an excellent point. They don't want to put more money into Sony's pockets. But I think if you consider this, there was a period of time when they buried the X-Men and the mutants because they couldn't get the rights to the X-Men. And then they worked everything out and suddenly, oh my gosh, we have 5 million X-Men titles again and Wolverine's not dead anymore. If they're putting that much energy and having multi-crossovers into Null, they could probably have a bigger plan.
Makes a lot of sense. But then they got to, they've got lawyers involved. They've got CEOs and execs just being like, okay, so what's in it for me? And
Right.
sadly, but I mean, what you do say makes a lot of sense. Like, even in what Iron Man movie was that with, oh my goodness, with the guys that would heat up and they would melt things. Was that Iron Man 2? 3?
It was 3.
Right. That was a fairly new comic series that happened. Was it not Infernus or something like that? But that was a fairly new series. It was like so much so that I didn't really know it, that I had to go back and read up on the material. And I see what you're saying. Yeah, they're making comics now because everybody wants a movie deal. So
yeah, I see what you mean. If Marvel doesn't help Tom Holland in his movies. So if Sony took control of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it's not going to be good, right? And then like Alan said, Venom 2 wasn't either good. What if Morbius isn't good? But if they do that, no, they're still in the game because they're still making money. That's why I don't think Kevin Feige would do that, because the ultimate goal is to buy back the rights to Spider-Man. Let's just not think that's gone away. Like right. Disney really wants the rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah, you're right.
But
so far,
it would be a dope ass series. No lie.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that. But the next best thing is but they're gonna do it on Disney Plus. I guess it's Secret Wars.
Didn't they just announce that that's on hold?
No, just pushed back till 2023. It was originally supposed to be for 2022.
Got it.
And then so it's like that's Nick Fury series, right? That's coming out.
Yeah, Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and then Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. I'm not sure who she's going to be, but she's going to be in it.
Secret Invasion.
Oh, Secret Invasion. I messed up. Yeah. Okay, I thought it was Secret
Wars
because the Russo brothers wanted to do the Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. I think that's the ultimate game plan for this next phase of the MCU is actually Secret Wars. But Secret Invasion, without a doubt, is the storyline that got me like interested in comic books after several years of me getting bored with them, just because Brian Michael Bendis did such a really good job of inserting different elements into comic books over like maybe a year. So when the reveal finally came that all of these different heroes were actually Skrulls, it was a mind blown moment in comic books. When does that ever happen? So
I remember you were all hyped up about it.
Yeah.
You were like, bro, we were on a bus. I think we were on a bus when you're like, bro, you need to read this. And I'm like, no, if it doesn't have any X-Men in it, I'm not interested.
Amen. That was, yeah.
I was really into X-Men and Spider-Man. That's the only thing I was reading. Alan's like, you need it. I'm like, nope. That's like trying to convince Alan to watch Lord of the Rings and or Harry Potter or Game of Thrones.
Or The Witcher.
Yeah, The Witcher. Yeah. Yep.
Toss a no at The Witcher. Overall, guys, Sony Spider-Verse, do you think it's going to happen?
I think so. I'm very hopeful. I see them able to do a lot with this. And now that, like with Joe bringing up that whole thing about Miles, I mean, Andrew Garfield, he did great. He deserves more. But if they make him just a stepping stone to Miles Morales, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's just too much, like Alfie had mentioned it earlier. It's just too much money. Everything's about money. They can get as much money as they can if they do that. And so hopefully, to your point, Alan, it doesn't get saturated and they make good content. But I don't think Kevin Feige is going to help out with the Andrew Garfield movie. So
Joe has definitely swayed me regarding if they just did another, hey, it's Andrew Garfield or even Tobey Maguire, it would be too much. But I think if you used Garfield to springboard a Miles Morales, and you could take the storylines that currently are traditionally Spider-Man with like a Sinister Six, I would totally be behind it because it would feel fresh. You can call it Spider-Man if you want to. You can call it, let's see, what's his name? Spin,
yeah.
Spin. Okay, yeah, you call him Spin, which is horrible.
Yeah, horrible.
But I would go for a Sony Spider-Verse with Miles Morales, and it does make sense because they've already introduced it in the cartoons, even though animated movies suck.
But not Into the Spider-Verse, because that is glorious.
Into the Spider-Verse is so great that I watched it. I did a midnight showing, and then like the next day I dragged my family to see it because it was that good.
So good.
Which is probably the first animated movie that I have encouraged anyone to see.
At the time, Marvel wasn't putting out good like anime movies or cartoon movies. And then this one comes out and you're like, wow, this is so good.
Yeah.
Hold up. You've never told anybody that they need to go watch Transformers the movie. The cartoon movie.
Yeah, I know which movie you're talking about.
For the audience.
No.
Optimus Prime died.
Didn't that movie just feel like it was a disappointment, right? Because Optimus Prime died.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, dude. And it tricked you. Because in the cartoon, like when they get hit, they'd fall down and they'd get back up and they'd hide behind a rock. And this one, you were like, wait, Bumblebee just died?
What?
Prowler just died?
You've got the touch.
Ironhide just died?
You've got
What the hell is happening? And then Optimus Prime dies in the first 20 minutes, bro. I remember looking around in the theater and kids were crying. Bro, I was trying not to cry. I was like, no way, he's dead. He's not going to die. Yeah. He can't.
That's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So no, Alfonso, I was not trying to traumatize anyone else by watching Transformers, the animated movie.
You remember when people were so upset, like when the cartoon series, before it ended, they brought back Optimus Prime?
Yeah, I do.
Damn, you got the touch. Oh, gosh, dude.
You got the power.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Was it Hot Rod? No one
cared
cared about Hot Rod. I'm like, bro, you can put the Matrix inside you and you get bigger?
Power? Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you're not Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Rodimus Prime.
What is this?
Yeah, no one cared. You know, that was probably like the most 90s thing they ever did. I don't know if that movie came out in the 90s, but when they turned their leader into a flaming pink hot rod,
no,
like that was so freaking 90s, dude. You know, it's like they had this thing that was going really great, and then the 90s was all about extreme. Like everything had to be extreme, right? And that's what it was. They're just like, kids will think this is cool because they love flames on everything. We'll make their leader with flames, you know?
When G.I. Joe came out with that movie, bro, and then Duke dies, and you're like,
oh,
what?
Dude.
You killed Duke?
That movie... Okay, I got a question because I've been confused about this. And I'm sure I could just Google it, but we're talking. Did that movie actually come out in the theaters, or did it just go straight to afternoon TV?
Pretty sure it was
on TV. No, it was on TV.
See, that's my point.
Really? It was on TV.
Because I thought it was going to come out in the theaters. Okay, I was hyped on it, right? Mm-hmm. I saved up my money, and I was like, Dad, we need to go watch this, right? And he's like, okay, whatever. But then, like, I could never find it in the theaters. Then, probably a month later, maybe a month and a half later, it dropped on TV.
Yeah. I remember there was a special because I remember I was like, Dad, can I watch that? Because, you know, let me explain to all this younger generation that doesn't know. You really had, growing up, one TV. And when your dad came home from work, you had to watch whatever your dad watched. So you had to watch all the cartoons, any TV show you wanted, play any video games before the Pops came home. And Pops always came home around 5 to 5:30, depending on traffic, bro. And you had a brief stint of what you wanted to watch. And I remember I said, Dad, can I please watch this movie? He's like, you know what, son? You got until 7 o'clock. And then my show comes on. That's all I needed, dude.
Nice.
Joe is so right about that, except I had to fight with my sister for TV rights. So, you know, basically I would only have from like 4 o'clock to 5, because my sister actually did her homework, unlike me. From 4 o'clock to 5, when my sister was doing her homework, that was the only time I had TV I could actually watch, because Dad came home between 5 and 5:30, and then I was done.
You just had to be strategic. Sorry to my sister, but I used to buy her Barbies and stuff. Go play this so I can watch this.
Nice.
Maybe that's why my sister bought me my first Game Boy, so she could get rid of me.
Hey, that's how we met, was through the Game Boy.
That's right, dude. Shout out to my sister for trying to get rid of me, and it turned into getting Joe.
Nice.
Shout out to the sister. What good, little homie? I just want to thank everybody for listening to us today on our podcast and our past podcasts and our new podcast. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Shoot, go down the street and talk to the person on the corner who ain't got nothing to do. Let him listen, or her listen to our podcast, because we love what we're doing. And we just want to spread the message of nerd fandom to everybody and anybody that's willing to listen to anything that we have to say.
This concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. Until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds redefined. Booyah!